are back, everyone.
Episode 5. We have such a special guest today. Amazing guest. We're so excited. We can't believe that we're about to interview him.
Never would have
thought. Such a special treat. Never would have thought.
Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh?
So please welcome our next guest.
Oh.
Hey guys.
Hey!
Starring Jayla Cohen
And Olivia Smaliga.
Sit back.
Woo! How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Cool. We're so pumped to have you, Coach Bob Bowman.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Let me just get into my notes really
Sure.
quick. So, Bob Bowman needs no introduction, but we'll give a brief overview.
Yeah.
You were an Olympic coach in 2004, 2008, 2012, and the head coach in 2016. You also had a swimmer go in 2000, and also you were on staff in 2021.
I had a 96, but
You had a 96!
I'm
So
aging
let me add
myself.
another one. 7 Olympics.
That's great.
That's unheard of. You're a book author. In also just under 8 years, you grew ASU from a team that was going to be cut or was cut into a Pac-12 championship winning team. So excited for this season and what's to come. I remember in 2008 seeing you on TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so cool. So the fact that I get to train under you and the fact that you're in my car right now.
It's a small world.
really-
It's crazy how things work.
Thank you so much for being here
Thank
for
you, Bob.
episode
Oh,
5.
I'm excited.
I feel like through the interviews that we've watched and being on deck with you, structure was necessary in order to achieve the consistent results that you have had. We've seen in a lot of your end of practice quotes that you use a lot of stoicism. And I just briefly have the daily stoic emails. Do you read those too? I'm just
I
gonna go
have
into
the book,
them.
The Daily Stoic, so I read it every.
You read it every morning?
Yeah, I read it every morning.
And I thought this one was perfect
Yeah.
for today. And if you don't mind, I'll just
go
read
ahead.
it. So it's a pretty observable truth. We become like the people we spend the most time with. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about this. One of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Your culture sets the expectation for what is, quote, normal. Surround yourself with people who have habits you want to have yourself. You'll rise together.
Love
That's
that.
really
Yeah,
cool.
it's awesome. And I think it speaks to the culture here at ASU, the
Yeah.
culture that you have led for almost these 3 decades. So what is your coaching philosophy? When have you implemented stoicism?
Yeah.
Was it always there? And how has your philosophy changed, if at all?
Well, I think I was kind of raised, my parents were kind of like that.
Yeah.
Stoic philosophy, do the right thing, do what you're supposed to do it well,
Yeah.
kind of focus on the task at hand, those sort of things. I actually got into Stoic philosophy a little bit later, probably when I was started at ASU,
Okay.
around that time, and maybe a little bit before. I had read, been given a book by my agent, Peter Carlisle. He gave me a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
which isn't really Stoicism, but it's very closely related.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about living in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on the here and now, not worrying about the future or regretting the past, or thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
So I started getting into that. I really liked it. And then that sort of led into the Stoicism part.
Yeah.
And actually, it's crazy. Like, on Twitter, I met Ryan Holiday, who wrote the Daily Stoic. He's written a bunch of books on Stoicism, and we have kind of became friends. I did his podcast.
Yeah.
And so that's how I really kind of got into it. And every day today, I read the Daily Stoic. There's a passage, and I try to think about it and try to carry it through my day. So that's kind of how it got started. But I've always tried to, particularly since then, impart it to the swimmers, because I think it's a key performance issue, right?
Yeah.
Probably the biggest problem we have about performance is that people are very outcome focused, right? So they're thinking about something in the future that hasn't happened yet, and they're anxious about it,
Yeah.
right? One of the things I've learned about from Eckhart Tolle is, you live in the present moment, and that's called, there is no such thing as time. It's psychological time. It's just what we have is right now in this car. We
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen when we get out of here.
Yeah.
We don't what happened yesterday is over. Something will happen tomorrow. But when you spend too much, get into psychological time and you live in the past, right? So you're always kind of reliving the past. That's kind of where depression happens. When you live too much in the future, what's going to happen next? What are we going to do? What's going to happen after that? That's anxiety. You can eliminate all those by just bringing it right back here. And right here, none of us have a problem. We're good in this moment, and then we'll move to the next and the next. And I think that's a lot about performance. You know, when you're at the Olympics, you don't want to be spending a lot of time thinking about a medal. You want to be thinking about what you're doing right now, what the next step will be, how you want to take the next step, and sort of move through it that way. And that's how you get to the point where the medal comes. The medal comes to you. You don't go to it.
So true.
So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, we watched an interview last night. You gave a presentation where you were talking about Nick Saban. Don't focus on the scoreboard, focus on the next play.
Play the next play, exactly.
Yeah, and so how hard is that though to practice? Or is it easy for you to just say, I'm in the present moment? Because through all your successes, specifically in 2008, that podcast that I listened to with Ryan Holiday, which we recommend, such a great podcast. It was, you kind of mentioned a bit of a struggle there to kind of, how do I get up after going to this mountaintop? And we were like talking about it, like, would you consider your career this really great mountain range? You reach these peaks and of go to these valleys. And so how do you practice that? Because it's one thing to say it and another thing to be like, nah, I really can't focus on the past. I can't focus on the future. I'm here,
Well, I think, what you learn is the biggest lesson I learned about 2008. And I was thinking about it actually this morning for some odd reason. I don't know why. That was like the culmination of 12 years working with Michael, right? It wasn't like we had a good year or a good 2 years. It was 12 years of putting it together and putting it together and putting it together. And when it happened, I was actually surprised. I thought there's no way. It's just like, so the odds were so low, right? But when it did, I thought, in the lead up to that, for probably 2 or 3 or 4 years, when it was close enough that I thought that it was possible. Before that, it was just kind of like way out there, so you couldn't even think. But once we started saying, okay, this is the program, this is how many minutes are between the races, this is what you're going to need to do, we put all this together, and it started after he swam the 2007 Worlds. I was like, wow, he could do it, right? So then I got really tuned in. But part of it was, and I think it's part of your preparation is you only want to think about what you're doing and you don't want to think about what comes next. So we did that and it worked, but I kind of, in the back of my brain, always thought like, wow, Michael wins 8 gold medals. Then I'll be happy. You know what I mean? But, that'll make a big change, right? Everything will be different. Well, some things were different, but not really. When you got home, I was still me. I still had my problems, still had to pay my bills. So, all of those things happened. So that's when I wanted to look a little bit more into this whole thing besides just trying to achieve a goal, which I love achieving goals. And I think that's what makes us do this, right? Because it's a very fulfilling. But what's the best part about the goal achievement is the way that you get there. Because when I think about the 8 gold medals, I do think about some of those races, and I'm like, wow, that was a great race, and you put that together. But what I really think about is the hundreds of practices that led up to that race and what he did in training that allowed him to then be able to come back and do it. Or maybe the little meets along the way where he had a breakthrough or did something, or maybe the times where he failed, which was all the time. People think Michael never stumbled, but he did. We don't all the time. So I think that's what kind of got me more into a philosophical look at swimming, because if all I want is Olympic medals as a coach, I can quit today. I'm done. I'm good. We've had plenty, right? And there's never going to be anything like Beijing, but there can be tons of other things with other people that are just as good in a different context. So I kind of wanted to look for those. And that led me to ASU.
Gotcha.
That's so sick.
So awesome. I'm like soaking all this in.
I know.
I'm literally just like, this is like sparkling lights for me. I'm really taking it all in. So that's That's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's the journey. Like when we were
Exactly.
kind of looking at 96, 2000, 2004. You would think it's just 7 years, but it's 30 years
a lot.
or 12
It's a
years
lot
with
of
Michael.
years.
What I guess led you to coaching? Because you swam at FSU.
I did.
You studied. We did a little research.
Good.
Developmental
Psychology.
psychology.
I did.
And you minored in music composition.
Yeah.
Which I thought that is the
So
most
cool.
interesting part
That's
to
so
me.
cool.
But did you always think you were going to be a coach?
I always liked swimming, and I always thought about swimming like a coach would think about swimming. I think I hurt my swimming. I think it really hurt. I wasn't a very good swimmer, and I think I could have been better had I not
Had you
analyzed
you as a coach?
everything all the
Wow.
time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if I had been the coach, I probably would have been a better swimmer than me being the swimmer. But
In what
anyway,
ways did you overanalyze?
just everything. Like, and I was super hard on myself about everything. And I just said, well, the answer to everything is just work harder.
Yeah.
And so when I went to college, I asked to train in distance lane because I had to work harder. And I was a sprinter.
100 meters. I just put 9 gal in a sprinter.
So, yeah, you get it. You get it. You know what it's like. So I never really achieved as a swimmer. And what happened was I swam through my junior year of college. And at the end of my junior year, I had kind of I loved swimming, but it wasn't going anywhere for me. And I was like, I got 1 year of college left. And I was one of these people that like, I didn't go out. I just kind of focused on my work.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to swim anymore. And I was like the team captain, right?
Yeah, we saw
Like,
that
when I
too.
went
We
after
saw
my
that
junior
too.
years, I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
And but it was great, best thing that happened for me, because then that year I was just kind of focused on being a little bit more of a normal person,
Yeah.
which I had not done ever.
Yeah.
And I got to start coaching. And it was kind of random. I mean, I always knew that I was interested in coaching. I was interested in the training and the strokes and all that kind of stuff. But my coach, Terry Mall, who was the head coach at FSU, coached the club team. And he said, you know, we're starting up this age group program, and I want you to, do you want to do it? And I was like, sure. So I coached in the summer and loved it. And then I went into the winter. And what had happened was the year before, or maybe even for 2 years, the pool that these kids had used had been closed. So the age group team was down to like 8 kids. So I took it over with about 8 kids, and then we built it up. And I think when I left a year later, we had 100, right? You know, so I was kind of into it, getting the people in, teaching the kids how to swim, and I just loved it. And then I got, at the end of that year when I graduated, I said, well, I think I really want to coach. So I applied for some coaching jobs, and I actually got really lucky. And I guess I had good references or something, but I got this job at the Cincinnati Marlins, which is a big team,
Yeah, Marlins.
as their head age group coach, which is a pretty big job at that time.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you started age group.
Oh, yeah.
I would think, you know, like kind of just looking where you are now, you would think, because I don't know how the coaching field works. You just go straight into college.
Well, a lot of people do that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was glad that I did. All my career is in club coaching until I coached at Michigan in 2004 for 4 years, and then I came here. So if you look at my 30 years, over half of it is in club coaching. So I love teaching kids how to swim.
And did developmental psychology lend any insights into that?
It did.
It did?
That's why I chose it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were those insights?
Well, just you don't train an 8-year-old like you train a 16-year-old, right? And not physiologically or mentally. There are stages of development. I learned stuff like I need to not be quite so freaked out about my freshman boys here in college being idiots because their brain's not fully formed yet.
Prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex is not controlling the impulse till later.
Yeah.
So I just need to understand that when we're kind of dealing with them, just stuff like that.
When we look back, like, you know, 18, 19, 20, like, what did I,
My
you know,
freshman year.
sneaking out in high school, you're like, okay, I can give myself some slack a little bit, I think.
Exactly.
But what I thought was really cool, you minored in music composition.
Did.
That's cool. I mean, like,
Well,
Yeah.
what you don't know maybe
Yeah.
is I majored in music my first 2 years.
okay,
Oh, wow.
didn't know. Yeah.
I went to FSU because they had an excellent music school. I think they were
Yeah.
ranked like number 2 when I
Yeah.
went there. So I had amazing teachers. I mean, just so good. But when you're in the music school, here are the requirements. since I was composition, I had to pick my instrument. Piano was my instrument.
That's cool.
And
You play?
Oh yeah.
Still? Oh, okay.
And I have a piano home. But I was a piano principal, not a major. If you're a piano major, you're required to practice 8 hours a day. I only had to practice 4 hours a day.
Damn.
8 hours
Or-
is a requirement, though. That's
Then you had to go to class. Then you had to go at night. You had to go to concerts and recitals, 20 per semester. So every night you're going somewhere and they're checking to see if you go. And I did that on top of like swimming on the swim team.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wasn't like 4 hours of piano practice, 4 hours of swimming, some classes. It was like after 2 years, I'm like, this can't go. So that's why I switched to psychology and kept my minor in music. Because I knew I kind of wanted to maybe go into coaching.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think that I really wanted to do music full time after having done it for a couple years.
Wow. Were you like kind of in the pursuit of trying to do like music? Like
Oh yeah, no, that was my pursuit. I wanted to do two things. I wanted to be a conductor, and I wanted to write film scores, like for
Wow.
movies.
Wow.
That's cool.
Wow.
That was
That's
kind
so
of my
cool.
thing.
That's so cool. Do you find that you could tell me like the physical aspect of swimming and I guess the creative side of music?
Yeah.
Do you find that you need both in life to kind
Yes.
of be successful in both?
You do.
Okay.
And actually, music and swimming are related in that aspect. So if you look at music like a page of musical notes,
Yeah.
it's 100% science and math.
Yeah.
It is all like vibrations, time. It's very cut and dried. But it's when you play it and you put an interpretation on it that it becomes something beautiful, right?
Right. That's sick.
And it's a lot like swimming. You know, the training, the energy systems, the stuff we try to, the strokes, the way we put them together are pretty science-based.
Yeah.
But when someone really takes that and then can add their own emotion and stuff to it, that's when you have these swims that are really
That's
beautiful.
so cool.
I
I've
love
So
never
in my
seen
mind, that's how I think about it.
I love that you said you'd want to be a conductor because we have a question.
that. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're the conductor of your symphony here at ASU in practice? Do you feel like you're just
I
the
do.
maestro?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
were
so
saying-
That's my job. My job is to kind of say, hey, over here, come on, lead this, do
Yeah.
this, lead out. do this.
We were
we
saying
had
like,
questions like, yeah.
which group is the brass? Which group is the
Strings?
the strings?
That's a good
Who
one.
would you say? Who would you say is the brass?
Oh my gosh.
We were thinking
The
Derek's
percussion is definitely Herbie's group. They're
Oh, that's
they're
what
the,
Jay
They're the
said.
percussion.
The cymbals too. I thought like
yeah, you know.
the cymbals, like the big bangs. Yeah.
I would say kind of like, I don't know, who are the woodwinds?
Oh, the woodwinds.
They're kind of in the middle. I
In the
probably
middle.
have some of those in my group. I'm probably like the French horns and the woodwind.
Yeah.
The strings.
Yeah, the strings. So the strings are kind of your meat and potatoes.
That's-
Yeah,
Maybe
I thought
that's
you.
my group. My
That's
group is
what you
probably the
said.
strings.
Yeah.
My group is probably the string
Yeah,
section.
yeah, yeah.
The
I
heart
see
of
that
it, you know,
too.
kind of the basis of it.
Yeah.
That's what Jay said. I
Yeah.
thought you guys were percussion because it's like a steady beat, and you had to like always keep
Everybody's got
the
that.
beat.
You gotta
Yeah.
have that.
Okay, cool. We were really.
It's kind of cool to think about, though.
Who's the triangle?
Logan.
Logan plays the drum.
D group.
Yeah, D group. Yeah, they're
D
probably
group's the triangle. That's good. That's good. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this
That was
conversation
awesome.
so far. All right. In your efforts to stay present and talking about how music kind of lends that creativity, it's similar to swimming. Where does cooking and baking fall into that? Because if you
Yeah.
guys don't know, you should go on Bob's Instagram page. He's got so much, a lot of good
So
pics.
good.
I
Sometimes,
saw like
you
a
know.
lemon olive oil cake.
Yeah,
in
that was
there.
a good
Saw
one.
that.
That was a good one.
You baked some Christmas cookies last year.
I
So
did.
delicious.
Coming up with some more.
Okay. Would you say that's like an activity to keep you present, or just as like a therapeutic thing for you?
I think it's both. I love it. I love the process. Well, I think cooking, right? It's like, yeah, this sounds weird coming from me. Nobody's gonna think I'll ever say, but cooking is love, right? That's what you do. It's an act of love, right?
It is. I agree.
But it's also, I like baking. I like to cook as well, and I do. But the baking is also, you have to be very precise.
It's science.
And it's science.
Yeah,
It's 100%
yeah,
science.
yeah.
And that's kind of my thing, is following the rules, putting it together, and then seeing what you got.
Yeah.
So, but when you do that, it's you have to be in the present moment, and it's very relaxing for me to do. So that's why I do it.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I love seeing that side. I mean, one of our intentions with Car Date is just getting to know people outside of their norm, you know, swim coach. But you have so much, there's so many layers to everyone, so it's really cool to hear that. And also, you go to bed at 8 o'clock? Is that a way? So
between 8 and 8:30. Sometimes I'll stretch it to 8:30.
Is that like a key to success for you? Going to bed early, and then you wake up at 4?
Well, I think the key to success is I get up at 4:10 every day.
Gotcha.
And I'm just a morning person. I'm geared that way. You know, it's pretty funny. In 2012, I took off. I didn't coach after the Olympics for about 6 months because I just I need a break. You know, it had been a long haul. Michael had retired, apparently, not really, but at that point he had retired. And so I took 6 months where I was still going to the pool and just kind of working out and maybe kind of helping the big picture stuff. But I didn't coach a practice, write a practice for 6 months. And my whole thing was, I was like, now when I'm doing this, I'm going to stay up late at night. I'm going to stay up till midnight. I'd sleep, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. I could not stay up late and get up late. I have to be up early and go to bed early. So it's just kind of my natural thing. But I do think that people are better when you're in a routine of sleep, whatever that is. So for me, it's up at 4:10, in bed by 8:30.
Do you feel more energized when it's that early in the morning? No one's up yet?
Love it.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is to get as much done as I can while most people are sleeping.
Ooh, is that an edge you feel?
It's an edge I feel.
Yeah.
And it's also when I'm most productive. I don't know. I just feel like I can get up, get going, get stuff done, set up the rest of the day. And then by the time I get to the afternoon, see, the downside of that is by the time it gets to 5 o'clock at night, I'm kind of winding down,
right?
So I need to have everything done, kind of organized, and then I can just kind of chill from 5, 6, 7. I'm normally over at Michael's house, playing with the grandkids, usually after practice every day. We eat dinner, then I go home, chill for about an hour, and go to bed. So I have a routine.
That's nice. I feel like that's also the natural rhythm of the day. As the sun sets, you're getting ready for bed.
Exactly.
Which is nice. How is it being called Grandpa?
I love it. You know what?
It
happened kind of randomly.
Yeah.
I didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to be Grandpa." I did it as a joke.
Yeah.
When Boomer was born, we were in a training camp in Colorado Springs. You're probably with us, right? We were up there, and Michael had to rush home, and Boomer was born a few weeks early, but all good. And so I didn't see him for 2 weeks until after he was born. Yeah. And I sent to their house some baby clothes from Burt's Bees. They actually make really good organic baby clothes. If you didn't know that.
Okay, shout out Burt's Bees.
And I just put in the card, I was like, for Boomer, love, Grandpa Bob. I just put it I don't know what to say. It was just kind of weird. Yeah. And I just put it in like that. And then when I got back and saw Boomer, Nicole started calling me Grandpa.
Oh.
And I think Michael thought it was a joke. He started calling me Grandpa, but then it just stuck. And now that's what I'm called. So it's cool. I love it.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Because it's when we also were researching, you started coaching Michael when he was 11. So how has been that journey of just watching one of your closest swimmers, if not the closest, grow?
It's crazy because, I know him so well.
Yeah.
And, I've seen him go through pretty much every stage of development as a person, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I'm so proud of where he is now. He's just in a great place. Yeah. And I get to see him every day. The irony is just everybody's do you miss Michael? I'm like, no, I see him way more now than I did when we were swimming. I would never see him away from the pool when we were swimming. He was running from me when we were swimming. But I see him every night. He cooks dinner most nights. So it's good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think we can hit this up.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna finish with a little quick fire segment. All right, so what are 3 non-negotiables for you for a happy life?
1, wake up early.
Okay.
Non-negotiable. 2, have some form of exercise. That has really changed my life since I've done that.
What do you do?
I swim and I lift.
Oh, I see. We see you. We see you.
I lift in there and I swim, and both of those have made a big difference in my life. Number 3, hang out with my grandkids. Got to do it.
Yeah, got to do it. Family. A little hug. Yeah. It goes a long way. If someone wants to swim for you, what do you look for and what makes you say yes?
they have to be able to handle structure, because our program is really structured, right? So they need to know that there's going to be a plan. We expect them to follow it, and they have to be able to do that, follow through consistently for the long haul.
Gotcha. What is your greatest coaching memory?
Oh my gosh, so many.
I bet.
We didn't know which way you were going to go. So I'm
there are
interested.
so many of these, and they're all great. The one I would say is probably the best is when Michael won his first gold medal.
That's what we thought it was.
Because that was his first, my first.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I just remember him walking back from the award stand with the medal, and he just had this smile. Like, never forget that. Right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
Who's your favorite artist?
Art? Or any art?
Music.
Music, I listen to classical music mainly. I'm a big fan of Bach. I'm a big fan of Mozart. All the basics. I like Dvorak. I like Prokofiev. But yeah, that's kind of where I go.
That's sick.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No, that's great. No, that's
like
great.
one thing I want to like start getting into. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my past life, like in my college life, I listened to stuff like Depeche Mode, New Order, all that
Depeche
kind of
Mode. That's one of my dad's favorites.
those are kind of our
Yeah.
music right there.
Do you dip your toe into any other genres now?
Country.
Country.
I like country.
Because you're from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I like country. If I was going to go on the radio, I'd either listen to classical or country.
Gotcha. And our final quick fire question. If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Benjamin Franklin.
What?
Oh, never would have thought.
Why? Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, number one, he's probably one of the smartest people to ever live, right?
Yeah.
He affected things in so many ways. He basically helped us win the Revolutionary War, but he also invented electricity and the hand paddle for swimming.
Really?
He was a swimmer.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He would go swimming a lot, and he devised hand paddles to use when he swam.
No way.
So he was like the whole package.
Wow.
He's on the $100 bill.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh.
Never would have thought you would say.
I know. I did not
Franklin.
know. Man, thank you so much,
Bob,
Bob.
You're
It's
very
been a
welcome.
pleasure.
It's been fun, guys.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
Could've changed my mind, I was halfway there.
See you in
100
practice.
meters. I just put 9 gal in a sprinter.
100 eaters, they won't fit in one SUV. No. SOS.